Hi, my name is Nick Kim. I'm 17 years old, and I am a rising senior at the Bergen County Academies, which is a high school back in New Jersey. I work as an intern at Hackensack Hospital in pediatric rheumatology. And I was actually diagnosed with enthesitis-related JIA last October, making it almost 1 year, which means that I'm about to celebrate my first birthday as a JIA infant this upcoming year, which is something I'm excited about. But reflecting on how much progress I've made this year, I just can't help but think of how hard it was at first for me initially, and how hard it still is for me now. So before I was diagnosed, I used to play a lot of tennis. I would play 2 to 3 hours every day, even in the school year and the summer, and it was something I really loved doing. And even when I went somewhere and they required me to write a bio, I would always write about tennis, and it was just something I really loved doing and talking about it, and I just felt like it was a part of me. And that is until the elbow pain came. And at first I dismissed it as tennis elbow, but when the pain started spreading to my knees, and then my ankles, and then my wrists, and practically every other joint I could think of, this was when I thought something is definitely wrong. And here we went to a pediatrician, and he told us that he thought it could be mono. And I remember thinking, I was panicking because I didn't know what to tell my mom, because mono is transmitted through kissing, and how do I explain through my mom that, you know? But as time passed, I realized that this was the least of my worries, because with each passing day presented a struggle that I had no idea how to cope with. So I remember I woke up one day and I was in my bed, and it was like sleep paralysis. It was like I couldn't get up, but it was so stiff and I couldn't move. And so I had to call my mom, and I was just lying there in bed, and she had to sort of put her arm underneath my back so she could sort of gently lift me up. And even on days where I could get up, I found that I couldn't dress myself, I couldn't chew, I couldn't swallow, I couldn't walk. And to see 17-year-old me, just having to see my mom dress me, it was just so hard to deal with that fact that I couldn't really dress myself. And what was even worse was that one day I just woke up because I heard something, and I just saw my mom next to me at my bedside, and she was just holding my hand, and she was just crying. And I didn't really know how to deal with that, because like, what am I supposed to do? So I just felt so helpless, and I just watched her cry. And I want to say that it's gotten better from there, but I really can't, because it was just a decline from there until I got my diagnosis. And on my diagnosis date, which is October 13th, 2017, it was so traumatic for me, because I feel like I've had my fair share of medical trauma in the past. I've broken an arm, I've ruptured my eardrum, but even through that, my mom has never shed a tear in front of the doctor. And when she heard my diagnosis, she just completely broke down. And me as her son, when I saw that, it was just so hard for me to see her suffering because of me. But as much as it hurt me physically, for me what hurt even more was the social aspect of adjusting at school. And in terms of like fitting in with my friends and surviving in school. So as a teenager who can never leave his phone, and I always prioritize my social life above every other part of my life, knowing that I couldn't do the things I wanted to because of my disease. It just hurt me so much. And this was evident in scenarios where in school I had to drop out of AP Calculus BC, and I worked so hard to get in that class, but my body couldn't handle the workload that this class required. And other times where I couldn't go up the stairs, so I had to take the elevator, but I couldn't, because my friends would ask me, why are you taking the elevator? And I didn't know what to say, because I didn't want to give off the impression that I was, in lack of better words, I was crippled. And even the SAT, which is so crucial to my college application process, which I'm starting now, I had to cancel it because I couldn't sit there and hold the pencil for 4 hours and just in a chair for 4. It was just so taxing on my body, so I had to cancel my SAT. But the worst part was that I couldn't even tell my friends about it, because I didn't want others to think I was weak. And even if I did, they wouldn't take me seriously because of the label arthritis. And this is why I hate the word arthritis, because juvenile idiopathic arthritis, arthritis undermines the struggle that each one of us as patients have to go through, and how much hardship we face as not just patients, but just as people. So there are a few points I really want to get across this morning. And the first is, pain is pain, but what hurts even more for me is the emotional burden and the social aspect of adjusting to this disease. So you might not see it physically present in a patient, but you have to automatically assume that this patient is hurting so much inside, because for me it was way worse than the pain, the physical pain that came with this disease. My next point is that as a community, we have come so far. In a sense, us as patients, we were our own doctors. We experimented on our own bodies. We had to see what worked and what didn't. And by adding 1% here, 1% there, slowly that 15% rose to a 90%. And progress was evident. It was sure, but it was slow, but it was definite. And I still remember what it was like to feel like not to be able to get up and to see my mom crying at my bedside like that. But honestly, it's because of all the effort that we put in together collectively that we are where we are right now. So I encourage all of us to try even harder to come up with new, unprecedented ways to achieve the unthinkable. My last point is to keep listening. I want to remind you all that this is a disease that I will never be free from. It's something that will never leave me. And as a fellow patient, I've gotten so much insight and hope from hearing about the stories of each patient, listening to their resilience. And one of the most valuable things, even under the thought that this disease is so hard on me, but something I've gained from this is the caregiver community that JIA offers. By enduring together, being united, and replacing our shared sense of despair with hope, it's provided me not just with reassurance, but maybe in the end that idea that, it'll be okay. So I ask you to continue to listen to panels like these, getting insight from individuals and not patients collectively. This is just as important as the science behind the scenes. And maybe if we do all of this, then maybe one day in the future, upon hearing a JIA diagnosis, we'll sort of let out a sigh of relief rather than being scared of a journey of uncertainty. Thank you.